Well, right now, more than 200,000 U.S. active duty troops are deployed overseas. An additional 41,000 National Guard and Army reservists are also downrange as America's role in the world takes center stage in this political season. While there is a lot of debate about American boots on the ground, hundreds of additional troops are heading to Iraq ahead of a major battle to retake Mosul from ISIS. While in Afghanistan, our military drawdown is slower than expected. Nearly 10,000 troops remain on the ground there as the Taliban continues to control territory. So let's talk about all the military challenges ahead for the next commander-in-chief with General Jack Keane, a retired four-star general, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, and a Fox News military analyst. Always great to have you, General Keane.
Good to be here, Jenna.
You say we will be facing the most significant global security challenges since the end of the World War II. Why is that? Tell us more about that.
Well, for a couple of reasons. First, we've got three revisionist powers, Russia, China, and Iran, all seeking some form of regional domination. And the truth is, they're all having some success at that at the expense of the United States. Radical Islam, which we've now been dealing with for almost a generation, has morphed into a global jihad, and we have no plans, nor strategy, not only the United States, nor does the international community have anything to defeat it. It is the ideological challenge of the 21st century, similar to fascism, Nazism, and communism in the previous century. And what makes these dangerous, we've faced challenges before, significant ones, but what makes these more dangerous is because we're failing so miserably at them, Jenna, and that's the awful truth of it. Our adversaries are emboldened, and they're seeking advantage over what they believe is complacent leadership in the United States and Europe. And our friends, they don't look at the United States as a reliable ally anymore. Even worse, they don't trust us.
So let's look ahead then. And by looking ahead, let's just look back. And what I mean is, what have we done over the last 8 years, if we're going to take something away and learn from it, to not repeat for whoever inherits the next 4 years in the White House? What have we learned?
Well, I think when you look at the Middle East and the wars that we certainly have fought there and the treasures that we've sacrificed in doing that, and I know the American people can get frustrated by it and say, well, wring our hands and say, just let them fight it out themselves. And in a sense, that has been the Obama strategy. He's tried to disengage us from the Middle East and tried to pivot to China, did a very poor job of the pivot, did a very poor job of the reset with Russia. But the Middle East has gotten considerably worse as we began to disengage from it. And the big lesson is, I'm absolutely convinced of it, looking at this very closely since World War II. When United States American leadership, Jenna, is engaged in the world, not with muscular military intervention, but engaged in the world as a strong, reliable ally, the world is actually a safer and more secure place. When we disengage like we've been doing for 8 years, it becomes a more dangerous place. And the new commander-in-chief's got to recognize that American leadership truly matters in the world. Other countries depend on us, and it makes a difference in terms of the security and stability of the world.
The reason why I wanted to talk about this is that oftentimes I can get frustrated about not talking enough about the future and just sort of playing with what happened on the campaign trail in the last 24 hours. And so that's why I wanted to talk a little bit about this with you, about American leadership and what's ahead for whoever wins. In the meantime, there is some debate because of something that Donald Trump said on the campaign trail yesterday and how it relates to veterans. I'm going to play a little bit of that sound, some of the reaction, and I'd like to get your thoughts, General Keane.
Sure.
When you talk about the mental health problems, when people come back from war and combat and they see things that maybe a lot of the folks in this room have seen many times over, and you're strong and you can handle it, but a lot of people can't handle it. And they see horror stories, they see events that you couldn't see in a movie, nobody would believe it.
General Keane, here's what Vice President Joe Biden said about this morning.
This is an ignorant man. This guy says things he has no idea about. He's not a bad man, but his ignorance is so profound, so profound. How can he be so out of touch? He's not a bad guy, but how can he be so out of touch and asked to lead this country?
The veteran who asked the question in this town hall sort of setting that Trump responded to said this is completely over nothing, essentially. But I'm curious your perspective as someone that spent so much time serving our country, General Keane, and also seeing the inner workings of government, what you think about what Mr. Trump said.
Well, first of all, I happened to catch that yesterday because you know, it was dealing with national security, and most of the people asking questions were veterans, and some of them were actually former leaders in our military. So it was a very good session, quite frankly, and one that we don't get very often in terms of the substance of the issues. You know, I think, listen, I'm not a political guy, you know that, but I mean, I think we have to be a little fair here. Mr. Trump, in my judgment, post 9/11 has spoken to veterans issue in a way that no other leader seeking national office has done. And I think veterans, therefore, have listened to him, and they have certainly been encouraged by the fact that there's somebody speaking for them. The fact that there's a sentence in the whole context of what he was trying to say in his support and sympathy for veterans that may be a little awkward and clumsy in expressing that sympathy and support, I don't think detracts from where he is and what veterans believe he's standing for in trying to support them and articulate some of the issues that mean so much to them.
Well, as the wife of a veteran, I find that sometimes we like to talk about what people say about veterans a lot more than we like to talk about veterans' issues, because that can actually be harder. General Keane, it's great to have you on the program. Thank you for the look ahead. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Jenna.